Allegations have emerged that China is circumventing United Nations restrictions to bolster Iran's ballistic missiles capabilities, particularly in the aftermath of a brief but intense 12-day conflict between Iran and Israel in June 2025. According to intelligence assessments cited by multiple defense outlets, Beijing has facilitated the transfer of sodium perchlorate, a critical chemical compound used in solid fuel rocket propellants, via a series of cargo vessels, making frequent ports call between Chinese industrial hubs and Iranian coastal facilities. While neither Beijing nor Tehran has officially confirmed the shipments, Western analysts noted a marked increase in maritime traffic along this corridor, coinciding with Iran's accelerated missile production timeline. The reported cooperation underscores a deepening strategic alignment between two U.S. designated adversaries, both of whom view American military presence in the Middle East as a primary threat. China's involvement, if verified, would represent a significant breach of UN Security Council Resolution 2231, which endorsed the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action and restrict arms transfer to Iran without prior notification. This development adds another layers of complexity to an already volatile regional security landscape, where Israel remains on high alert against potential long-range strikes from Iranian-backed proxies across Lebanon, Syria, and Yemen. Beyond its role in global arms network, China's overwhelming industrial capacity has become a central concern for U.S. defense planners. A recent analysis published in The Atlantic highlight Beijing's unmatched ability to outproduce the United States in nearly every category of military hardware, from unmanned aerial systems to naval vessels. China now constructs more than half of the world's commercial and military ships, while the U.S. shipbuilding industry accounts for just 0.1% of global output. This disparity extends to electronic, steel, batteries, and precision-guided munitions, raising alarms within the Pentagon about America's ability to sustain a prolonged high-intensity conflict. Defense Secretary Peter Hegseth has emphasized lethality and readiness in public statements, but internal assessments suggest that technological superiority alone may not compensate for fundamental gaps in manufacturing throughput and supply chain resilience. Experts warn that in a protracted war scenario, particularly one involving simultaneous conflicts in Europe and the Indo-Pacific, the U.S. lacked the shipyard, skilled labor force, and raw material stockpile necessary to replace losses after an initial strike. China's state-directed industrial policy, integrated with its civilian economy, allows it to rapidly pivot production toward wartime needs, a capability Washington has not maintained since the Cold War. As global competition shifts from tactical engagement to industrial endurance, analysts increasingly argue that the next major conflict may be decided not on the battlefield but in factories and ports. On the ground in Ukraine, the war has entered a phase defined by relentless attrition and competing narratives. Russian forces have intensified their campaign across multiple fronts, capturing Novoalexandrovka in Dnipropetrovsk Oblast and launching coordinated drone and missile barrage against energy infrastructure nationwide. In Sumy, airstrikes struck a residential neighborhood and a railway depot, injuring 11 civilians, including 4 children. Ukrainian retaliatory operations have targeted Russian oil refineries, power substations in Oriol, Volodymyr, and Yaroslav, causing temporary blackouts and disrupting fuel distribution networks. Despite these exchanges, Moscow claims significant battlefield momentum, asserting that Ukrainian units are encircled in 3 key sectors, Pokrovsk, Kupiansk, and Dmitrov. In response, Ukraine Foreign Ministry imposed a media blackout on these areas, barring both domestic and international journalists from accessing frontline zones. Russia interpreted this restriction as an admission of catastrophic military loss, with the Kremlin accusing Kyiv of hiding the true scale of its defeat. President Vladimir Putin has publicly offered to allow independent reporters into the so-called quadrants to see the truth, framing the move as a gesture of transparency. Ukrainian officials dismissed these claims as psychological warfare designed to erode Western support, insisting that operational security, not embarrassment, motivates the access restrictions. The battle for physical territory is now inseparable from the battle for global perceptions, with both sides weaponizing information to shape diplomatic and financial backing. Meanwhile, fractures within the European Union threaten to undermine Kyiv's long-term survival strategy. Hungary, led by Prime Minister Viktor Orbán, continues to obstruct unified EU policy on Ukraine, maintaining national bans on Ukrainian grain import despite the activation of a new EU-Ukraine trade agreement. Poland and Slovakia have followed suit, citing domestic agricultural pressure and fears of market destabilization. Orbán has gone further, denouncing EU funding for Ukraine as fairy tale money that drains national budgets without delivering peace. His government, along with Foreign Minister Peter Szijjártó, insists that only a direct US-Russia negotiation can end the war, and has positioned Budapest as a neutral venue for such talks, even as those efforts have now collapsed. This stance isolates Hungary from core NATO allies but resonates with growing segments of European publics wary of open-ended commitment. With US aid projected to decline sharply in early 2026, Europe faces an unprecedented fiscal challenge, financing a $328 billion package to keep Ukraine's military and government functioning. Yet political will is fraying. Germany, France, and Italy remain committed in principle but face mounting domestic opposition. The dilemma is stark without massive sustained European investment. Ukraine risks financial collapse even if it holds the line militarily. The war's next phase may therefore hinge less on tank counts or drone swarms, and more on whether Brussels can overcome internal dissent to deliver the economic lifeline Kyiv desperately needs. If you have made it this far, congratulations, you have unlocked the truth. I want to ask you a quick question though. Considering the reports of China aiding Iran's missile program and its overwhelming industrial capacity to outbuild the US in a lone war, which nation do you believe poses the greater strategic threat to global stability in the 21st century? A resurgent Russia with its nuclear arsenal and European ambition, or a rising China with its economic and industrial might? And why? Join the debate. We want to hear your insightful opinion on where this is all heading in our community. Share your thoughts in the comments below. Like the video, the notification bell, and most importantly, subscribe. I'll see you guys in the next one.